The second way I use lengthened partials is not as an end of set intensity technique, but rather on every single rep of a set. This is actually how I use them in my new Pure Bodybuilding program. On the last set of several exercises, we do long length partials on every rep of that set. This is how Dr. Wolf recommended that I do them, since you get to spend more total time in the most anabolic part of the range of motion. Why water the set down with time spent in the less anabolic part of the range was what he said. So for example, on week 1, day 1, we're doing all long length partials on the last set of chest supported machine rows. So on rep 1, we only go halfway up, and then we continue with half reps in the lengthened aspect until we get to rep 10, which should have us right at failure if we selected the appropriate weight. And it's worth noting that you may need to go a bit heavier when doing partials. It also makes a lot of sense to do lengthened partials on dumbbell flies. That's because with dumbbell flies, you already have this very lopsided resistance curve where there's tons of tension in the bottom and virtually zero tension at the top. But maybe that's not such a bad thing, because we now know that the lengthened part of the range is the most important part, and dumbbell flies naturally emphasize the lengthened part. So I've recently rethought how I feel about dumbbell flies. In the past, I've argued that they're most likely inferior to cable flies, because with cables, you get much more continuous resistance throughout the range of motion, which is true. But in light of all this new evidence, I'd say dumbbell flies aren't a bad option at all, especially if you lean into their inherent stretch bias further by cutting out the top half of the movement and just hitting them all as partial reps. Now, I still do cable flies because I think variety is important, but whenever I do dumbbell flies, these days I pretty much always do them as long length partials. I've also been playing around with lengthened partials on the Smith machine press, and man, the pump you feel from these and the deep stretch you get is just fantastic. And I've been experimenting with them on leg presses too, and so far, I do find the partial reps more enjoyable. There's something nice about only having to do half the ROM and still reaping all the gains. It's not that they're easier, if anything, I'd say they're harder because you don't get that tiny mini rest at full lockout, but I still think they're super fun.